So Thomas Sankara took over a country.
Yes.
And he implemented a lot of amazing plans. Robert Mugabe got Zimbabweans land. The one thing that South Africans still complain about. Muammar Gaddafi actually built a solid nation that had nationalized its own resources. And then you've got Marcus Garvey, who successfully built almost a parallel black economy, using ordinary black people's money to create this big fund to get into ships and their own media. And where did these people and their legacies fail? I know Sankara was murdered. Muammar Gaddafi we can maybe put down to Barack Obama in the United States. Robert Mugabe, Marcus Garvey. Because they looked like they were winning.
Yeah, I think the problem that, has occurred after these guys were assassinated or taken out, there was no succession plan, Unfortunately, with us, Dakis, we don't have a plan. These guys, they just mushroom, by coincidence. Turgututola Auti becomes a benevolent dictator, and then he pushes a plan. When he dies, there's nothing. The same way, with election, so there's this guy, is an entrepreneur, taxi. When he dies, no one comes after him. It's by coincidence. Unlike other countries, you can check. Let me give you a soccer example. If like Germany, you go to Irayabo Franz Beckenbauer, you go up to now, they play almost the same. They play as a team. Germans, they don't have like your superstar, your Lionel Messi. They play as a team. Sure. If they change, there'll be a rationale why are they changing, and they'll implement those changes. Brazil, they've been playing, samba all the way during Irabo Pale. It's only now when they were interfered with, when they had coaches who wanted to play European soccer. Unlike us, Tina, we just, plan for 5 years. Even our politics, we don't have that long-term plan, like about China, about 50-year plan. I don't know, your problem about that. I don't know whether it's innate or, or it's something that you inherited, I don't know from where. But Tina, there's no succession, Even if you killed a guy like Patrice Lumumba, people go on business as usual.
Correct.
Stephen Biko died, it's business as usual.
Correct.
Nothing. TSC machine dies, suspiciously. Nothing is, is happening. Even up to this day, nobody speaks of TSC machine. We just came from June 16. The person who was leading, nobody is talking about TSC machine. So, Tina, we don't have that plan, that succession plan. There's another one. There'll always be another one. Wow. That's where I admire people like the Jewish nation. There's always another one, who's going to succeed them. The Chinese,
like the German football team, it's not so much about stars. It's more as a collective.
Yeah, they play as a collective. If Balak goes, there's another one. If Brackenpol go, Jürgen Klinsmann, up to now, there's always another one, So Tina, even Bafana, that's why we cannot repeat our success from 96, because it was a fluke. It was just that at that time we had, a combination of good players, and you cannot repeat that. There is no plan, to repeat that. I don't know whether we are not building because, because to plan, you need to put resources, I don't know, maybe it goes down to resources, we are not prepared to put resources to ensure that there is a succession plan.
So, Ubabu Moeletsi Mbeki speaks in an interview about how South Africa still serves the British Empire. And I'm reminded by you saying that you speak about the British finding Kwame Nkrumah, not having the money and saying we can't afford to run these people anymore, so we'll have to find a proxy.
Yes.
And they found that in black leadership there. In South Africa, they found white leadership, being Afrikaners, who were second-class citizens at the time, but good enough to manage the Bantus.
Yes.
And then later on, the Afrikaners weren't doing a good job, so they gave it to the ANC. And many people still believe we're British proxies.
The Afrikaners were doing a good job for them. But unfortunately, the dynamics, were changing globally. I mean, if you remember, the ANC, now, but they found themselves, CODESA, by luck. It's by luck because the Soviets, they fell. Had it not been of the Berlin Wall, coming down, probably, it would have taken us much, much longer. I mean, when Gorbachev met Ronald Reagan, I think it was 85, he came up with the Glasnost and Perestroika reforms, collapsing the Soviets or liquidating the Soviets. That's when, the Soviets were forced to say, you know what, stop funding these communist, organizations like Abo ANC. We are now talking. So they came in. That's when they forced the Afrikaners, because they were funded by the Western countries, who Britain, go American, saying, listen, when two elephants are fighting, the grass must suffer. When two elephants are making peace, it means even the ground, must become fertile. So they forced about P.W. Potts. If you remember, 89, P.W. Potts, was a stroke. They brought in de Klerk. De Klerk announced immediately, no, I'm going to release Mandela. Actually, even prior that, P.W. Potts kept on saying, I'll release Nelson Mandela. But he bekambekela conditions, which he must go to Transkei, ehlala noma Tanzima, he must, denounce violence and all that. Because he was getting a pressure, from the United States, because it was evident that now we're going to, Guma negotiations. George Soros, they were putting pressure. They were now talking New South Africa. The culture was changing, but now it's time to negotiate. Even the songs, it was like, now so black and white. The pop culture itself was reflecting that. I'm a concert, we're reflecting that. You know what, it's time. So they were forced to, but Afrikaners, I think they did better than the ANC, unfortunately, they were, concentrated kakhulu, ebantwini babo. But they also covered us. Imagine that. These guys, they didn't plan for us, in the main, but they also covered us. I'm talking about areas that were managed, by apartheid. I know that there are homelands, where black people were oppressed by other black people, but they still did well compared to provinces now. Because Afrikaners, they realized that if we don't provide for these guys, especially after 76, these guys will riot, Let us improve their schools. Bafaka ama-ambag, emalokishini abafana nabo Soweto, bafaka ama-golf course, we had everything that Afrikaners had, or white people had, even though the standard was not the same, but we had that. Stadium, you could be a boxer, bonga by karateka. There were business people, Omaponya, Oshabalala, East Rand, the same, So I think they did better than these guys,